Thank you for agreeing to be a part of the interview. Shall we start? The first question, how do you feel about the decision to demolish CFA?
I thank God this place is getting burnt down. Shit won't die unless you fucking torch the whole place down.
I'm just so glad that they're finally doing something about it because I feel like someone would die of pneumonia or something.
I think it came as a huge surprise.
I mean, I was definitely disappointed. Yeah, disappointed. A bit like what the fuck kind of thing.
We have a running joke in our club that our room is where the last of us will begin because we have more problems. So every time we leave the session, it is customary to go wash our hands before we go to the bus stop.
Usually because the studio is where different dance communities, yeah. Then you do PT halfway, right? Then suddenly you see a clump of hair. Yeah, I got pink hair off my friend's shoulder before, the whole patch. And they're like, you just don't we don't throw it away. We kind of just throw it to the side also. Yeah, so you kind of just live with the dust.
This place smelled like the 80s. The flavor of the mold just permeates all the instruments and adds the vintage tone and the warm tone to the microphone. Yeah, I'm gonna miss that.
So sometimes I will use one of the rooms to study or to do work, right? So we'll use PR2 because the lock broke or something, right? So we'll just go inside. Guitar song. Sorry.
Oh wait, since you're here, can I ask, when will the new building for CFA Studios be completed? Some of us were told it was 2029.
Okay, it's not this. It's actually 2026, yeah. There'll be more spaces starting to come online already. Then 2029 is when it is aimed to be completed.
So you're talking about some of these new spaces. Can I better understand, what are some of these plans?
Okay, I'm happy to share some of it. However, I would give you some advice before I do that. And that is that the plans are actually quite extensive. Before you use what I tell you, fact check it. Just in case I give you information that may not be fully accurate. So, we're not building parts of the new CFA on top of the old, but my understanding is that there are essentially going to be two sites, Site A and Site B, and some of the spaces will be reported to CFA.
But yes, it is correct to say that discussions of Site B came about before the final news of CFA's demolition.
Yeah, and it also came about way before the conceptualization of the reimagining of CFA Studios.
So there is a larger master plan of development on campus where there are, of course, various things, right? Besides performing arts spaces and sports facilities, there's academic research centers, etc. And of course, residential.
Yeah, actually, the spaces had been allocated with the understanding that CFA Studios will have to go.
Okay. I think that it would be quite good if CFA Studios could be renovated to better suit the needs of the community.
I don't know. To me, it 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 still just feels like no matter what they do after demolishing CFA, it's gonna hurt the arts on campus at least for some time.
It's like the causeway, right? Like you go to Malaysia, everybody just wants to go at the same time. So no matter how you know the causeway, it will never ever be sufficient.
I think as an artist, you can't assume that somebody is going to give you a proper alternative space.
I don't know. The only thing I know about is Lion Dance just shifted from MPSH to CFA. And not even a year in, they tell us that we need to shift again eventually. Then I was like, I just dreaded lor, like the whole process of shifting again.
Subject: CFA Spring Clean. Hi group leaders, we will be doing a major spring cleaning in CFA Studios, and we will need all groups using the space to attend one of the briefing sessions.
None of us knew what it actually meant. During the briefing, it was then revealed to us for the first time that, hey, you guys aren't cleaning your studios out. You guys are moving your studios out.
We did appeal to see whether you can then delay, but then they said it was not possible. Yeah, so we were kind of like trying to negotiate too, because for us, when is the best time? Yeah, we feel that to do it in the summer break is better than to cut off in semester.
That was when the news broke out to us that, hey, CFA Studios is officially being demolished by this August.
Oh yeah! We had to throw away a lot of our assets.
EML has over 30 years of existence, so a lot of the equipment has been with us for a long period of time, so that was a bit sad.
Yeah, we took out like 10 rows of just trash bags. The entire store was wiped out.
Okay.
And now we're left with just 2 boxes.
Yeah, that was the day I'll never forget. The throw shit out of Studios Day. Yes.
I always believe you get what you give. If you gym every day, you hopefully get a nice body. And whatever they are giving to the arts now, who knows?
So, is there regret? No question. We think that we need to move on and evolve our student experience on campus. That's it, yes. But do we treasure those memories? Absolutely. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're having this interview.
My memories of this space were very viewpoint-centric. Because there was a time our computer kept making us do viewpoints. And then there was this whole site-specific and architectural dimension. I keep staring at the lines of the space, the lights, and all of that. And at first I just kept thinking, wow, this is the most uninspiring room. But I mean, having that very plain room also supported the lesson that you don't have to be very creative. You don't have to keep generating something for the sake of it.
We also had a photo shoot there. You know, we kind of Frankensteined it. It was really weird. We just took like our lighting equipment stands, then we hang like a white backdrop on it. We just had to trust the process. Okay, day 1. I really had no idea what I was doing. Day 2, we kind of got the hang of it, I think. By the time it was day 3, we were pros. Take it till you make it. I think that's what I learned about this space above anything else. Oh, and I also once walked into one of our exco members hosting like a very important interview.
I did my job interview in our NFPC room.
And then we had to crawl down on the floor without being seen by the camera. It was like this whole Mission Impossible sequence.
It was amazing, I got the job.
I'm not sure if this can be said. So, we were having exams, right? And then we were very stressed out. So in the name of studying, we kind of illegally trespass spaces just for the fun of it.
CFA is a place that is great because it's locked, right? You have privacy, you can kind of do whatever we want.
Yeah, and then we were just drinking and talking. But of course, we're not studying at all because we brought alcohol.
We can play piano, we can drink, we can run around the corridor and do stupid things.
Yeah, and then the very next morning, we went to exams.
That's because you're from FAS and you're from Raffles Hall.
Oh, but you know, that became the place where we would associate with being with our friends, being with our classmates, making theatre. And that's when you start to dream about, oh, what if? What if, the big what if? What if I could do this for life? What if we could graduate and then form companies together? I mean, those were the conversations that we had, you know, in that space. And at that space, but also outside that space.
What do I miss about this place? Or like how is damn funny, it's like so inaccessible.
Because of the hill, there's just no other way. You can't possibly knock the hill down, right?
It's like a lot of stairs, a lot of heavy doors. If someone who has mobility issues wants to use this space, it's a bit hard for them to access the arts.
I think that this move this desegregation of practice spaces was a good move in that sense. To let people know that, okay, the arts is for everyone.
So, interesting and exciting times ahead. Is heritage important? Yes. Are traditions important? Yes. Should there be baggage for the future? Not sure.
You can strike a balance between modernity and nostalgia. But don't change the character of the building. Don't change the skeleton. We can add on.
We have to be very cognizant of the unchangeable context that our land is going to be forever that size. It's not going to grow, right? So, if the land size doesn't grow,
I'm not surprised that in land-scarce Singapore, they were trying to maximize the use of space.
When it's multi-purpose, I just think that everybody will have very different intentions of how to use the space. It is more transactional. I book the space, I use the space, I leave the space.
And in a sense, the space kind of puts you in a proper headspace. Like the space here kind of allows you to function better.
I think it is important that art school on campus do have places they can practice.
I know some people who say that if you can sound good in a bad room, then you can sound very good in a good room.
And if they don't, they'll just have to get creative to make their voices heard.
Okay lah, I guess they put it that way. And it just means that we have to work harder, which is great. Yeah, sure.
Arts just occupies a slither of space already. We had to fight harder to carve out a space for just the arts and the arts alone. And that in itself is enough. Enough a reason for it to stay the way as it is.
So for Malay dance, we have like a week we have to use, so we standardize the buns.
After practice, we always have supper in the, I don't know what you call the space.
Then to do that, we need somebody to help us. So because the space there is very big, right, we would stand in a line to help each other. Yeah, so that was very cute lah.
The lobby area. Choir people and like the sound they like to make, right? It's always very loud and very echoey. I love the chaos.
When I was president, the wall in Studio 2, where we had our synthesizers and all of that, it was completely infested with mold. We call it The Last of Us Part 3. I'm not even kidding. It's like the whole wall, the sidewalk full of mold. And we just, you know those 80s action movies where you just guns blazing and all of that? I got 2 anti-fungi spray and just blasted the wall repeatedly until everything died. Then they grew back the next week.
Subject: implications due to CFA Studios closure. CFA has been doing some forward planning for next AY's regular booking slots, and as there will be a tight squeeze due to the demolition of CFA Studios, we seek your cooperation.
They told us during the arts leaders retreat that it's very hard for them to provide space for any extra practices.
So usually during the semester, we use UTown DA1. Then during the semester break, we would book the dance studio at CFA. Yeah, but then now we have nowhere to practice.
Line dance is a dying tradition. I feel like we're trying our best to keep it for the people that care about it lah.
Ultimately, we're still contributing to the school's name by performing, so people know this is NUS. NUS have a Malay cultural group. Wow, NUS is so inclusive.
But then we're like the one without a place to go.
But okay, we make do with what we have.
You should self-source a standby external venue as a backup and propose a budget that CFA could fund.
So usually we go to SMU, which is kind of ironic because we are from NUS. Because SMU has a very big open space at the underground level where a lot of dancers go.
Is there any open spaces on campus, like in NUS?
So in campus, we will only use COM3. But I remember one time, they had like things pinned out on like a big board or something. And some of the pins were actually on the ground. I think it helped some of the dancers.
Thank you for all that you shared. Do you have any last words that you'd like to share with the audience?
I hope that some of these frustrations can be kind of channeled into, creative ways.
I feel like it's like a great opportunity to like explore like new things. Like you never know, maybe a site-specific project will come out of that. Yeah, so just try to see it optimistically as hard as it can be.
If CFA can be a part of it, that would be great. Yeah, but as students, some of you have the means to overcome some of these constraints.
Living in Singapore, we can't find memories. You start to doubt yourself. Sometimes I can go away for 2 months and then I'll come back and realize that something significantly has changed to this space, even in my own housing estate. It's because we're just constantly rebuilding and excavating, rebuilding, and so much so that we are perpetuating this nation with dementia. Very soon, we will all have dementia by default.
I feel like I came too late, born too late for the birth of computer music, but came just right into the liminal space between the tail end of CFA Studios and whatever comes next.
I hope that whatever building and whoever will be there in 2029, they will get the meaning out of that we definitely squeezed out of Runme until its time breath.
I just wish that CFA would stay the way as it is, so that many years down the road, when I come back to NUS, there'll at least be one physical entity that I'll remember about being in NUS. But unfortunately, that is not the case. We are constantly making new memories in place of the old ones.
So, if the room could listen, what would your final words to it be?
The room?
Yeah.
Listen to me. Don't go. Yeah. Don't go.
All of these lines are called to me.